Hello everyone, this is Optec here and this is my guide to the Cataclysm Warlock changes. Now a lot has changed in this expansion, so I'm going to break this down into two videos. The first video is going to cover some of the mechanic changes as well as some new spells. I'm going to start with the general changes. One of the biggest changes to Warlocks in this expansion is the change to the soul shards. You now get 3 soul shards under your health and mana bar, and you restore them with a kind of an Evocate-like spell called Soul Harvest. This can only be done out of combat. If you use a soul shard by casting a spell called Soul Burn, you then gain an empowerment which you can use on other spells. I'm going to show you all the spells that Soul Burn affects. Now for Drain Life, all this does is basically reduce its cast time a lot. That's under Soul Burn, and that's just a normal one. This one's pretty cool. If you cast Soul Burn and then you use your teleport, you gain a kind of sprint buff, which I can see being quite useful. Soul Burn, Soul Fire, sorry, isn't that different. You just get an instant cast when you use it. Searing Pain, you get a 100% crit on the first one and then 60% crit for all subsequent ones cast under the empowerment. This is awesome. This is Seed of Corruption. You can only get this if you're Spectre Affliction. When it detonates, it puts corruption on all the targets within the blast radius. Something I think that Seed of Corruption always should have done. If you eat a health stone whilst under the effect of Soul Burn, you not only gain health, but you gain 20% maximum health as well. And also you can use Soul Burn to instant summon your pets. And that is all the changes to the Soul Shard mechanic in Cataclysm. Now we're going to talk about Banes and Curses. These are now 2 distinctly different spells, and they can be cast on the same target at the same time. So you can see I've got Curse of Elements and Bane of Doom. Bane of Agony, so Curse of Agony has become Bane of Agony, so you can basically have Curse of Elements and either Doom or Agony on a target. It's interesting here because when Bane of Doom ticks, you have a chance of spawning an extra demonic minion, so you see I've got an extra imp now. That's a nice little change to Bane of Doom. They've made a change to the temporary demons now as well. They basically are like, well, they are temporary pets now, and they don't replace your more normal demon. So here you can see I'm summoning a Doom Guard, and my Void Walker I've got out doesn't disappear. The Doom Guard will attack whatever Bane of Agony, whatever target's got Bane of Agony or Bane of Doom on it, and then we'll just pelt it with Shadow Bolts. These pets are on a 10-minute cooldown, and I guess are intended to be just an extra DPS cooldown for boss fights. You also have the Infernal. Infernal works the same way, 10-minute cooldown. It shares it with the Doom Guard. When you summon this down, it does a large amount of AoE damage, and then continues to pulse AoE. So you essentially have a single target pet and an AoE pet now. I'm going to talk about the new spells you get when you level up to level 85. First one is Fell Flame. This is awesome. It's an instant cast green fire direct damage spell. Hits about as hard as your Imp's Firebolt, but most importantly it can be cast whilst moving. Really cool spell, I really like this. Next one is a buff spell. It's called Dark Intent. You place it on another player, and you and that player gain 3% haste, and every time either of you crits, the other one gets 3% to damage over time and damage and healing effects, and this stacks up to 3 times. And the last one is Demon Soul. This basically works like Demonic Empowerment used to. It's a buff that's different depending on which pet you have summoned, and for the majority of them their DPS increases, but I think like the Void Walker you get a thing where all the threat is transferred to your Void Walker. But yeah, it's basically just a temporary long cooldown buff. There have been quite a lot of changes to how glyphs work in Cataclysm. Now, the basic system is you have prime glyphs, major glyphs and minor glyphs. Prime glyphs tend to be sort of relatively unambiguous damage increases. I mean, you basically pick the spells that you use most in your rotation and there'll be a bonus for it that helps your DPS. Major glyphs are more interesting in that they're much harder to see exactly how they benefit you, and you might actually have quite a difficult time picking your exact major glyphs. It's really down to your playstyle. I mean, some of the ones of note is you can take Glyph of Soul Link now, pretty much in every spec, increases soul damage shed by Soul Link by 5%. An entirely new one is Glyph of Soul Swap. Now, I'm going to talk about Soul Swap in the other video, but this is awesome. Basically means when you cast Soul Swap, all your dots stay on the target. You'll understand why that's cool in my next video. Things like Glyph of Soulstone you might even possibly take for soloing. If you die, you come back on almost 100% health. Again, another good soloing glyph. Glyph of Voidwalker increases the Voidwalker's health. The rest are fairly similar to ones on live. Fear's worth a note. There's a glyph which makes Fear root a target rather than fleeing, but it adds a cooldown to Fear. Life tap glyph is nothing like what it is on live. It reduces the global cooldown of life tap by half a second. Now, unsurprisingly, minor glyphs are just as useless as they are on Wrath of the Lich King. There isn't even a single one of note here. In fact, the only vaguely useful one was Drain Soul in Wrath of the Lich King, but now the Soul Shards mechanic has entirely changed. It's now just as useless. So, please Blizzard, add some decent minor glyphs. I'm begging you for a Green Flame one. And that's about it for the first video. In the next video I'm going to be covering all the specific changes to the different talent trees. Each tree has a number of different spells added to it, and some mechanic changes as well. There's a lot of interesting things, there's a lot to cover, so I'm going to devote an entire video to that one. Everyone should be looking forward to Cataclysm now, because it is truly awesome. Thank you for watching. I've been Optec of Trollbane Europe. Cheers.